Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on Sasaki and Miyano episode 9, and oh my god, the last episode was really good. It may have been my favorite episode so far. I freaking loved the last episode. It was so good. There was so much chaos. Sasaki and Miyano maybe realizing that they love each other. We're entering Act 3, right? We're entering the third act of the season itself into episode 9 because there's only 12 episodes. So we're entering the final episode. There's going to be an OVA later this year, and I was just told on Twitter and on the Discord, I was told in both places and on Patreon that they are announcing a new anime project. So I didn't know what I wanted to do when Sasaki and Miyano was over because I've been told by Wushin Suibian on Discord that the manga is not complete. Like the season adapts, I think, up to chapter 36 or something like that, and there's 42 chapters right now. And then they have the Hirano spin-off series, and Wushin was telling me that some of the Sasaki and Miyano manga was not anime adapted because it dealt with Hirano. So we were talking about it, and she was saying that maybe the new anime project is doing the Hirano spin-off, and they'll include those scenes from the manga that haven't been animated yet, along with the scenes of Hirano that are left out of the manga. And I'm like, I don't know. So I was originally going to read the manga afterwards, after the season was over, but I'm going to hold off now because the fact that they've announced an anime project, I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait because I don't know what this anime project will entail. So after Sasaki and Miyano is over, then I will start a new series. But I'm just going to hold off on the manga for now. I'm just going to hold off altogether because I was like, well, maybe I could read and catch up. But if they're going to include the scenes about Hirano in the spinoff, then I don't want to read it because I want to be surprised. So for now, I'm just going to watch these 12 episodes like it is and then not deal with the manga yet until we get more concrete information as to what this anime is about. So I'm going to hold off. I'm going to be patient. I can be a patient person if I need to. And I'm going to do that. And then obviously when the Sasaki and Miyano OVA comes out, whether it's this year or next year, I'm going to react to it as well. So that gives me a little bit of, it's one thing when a series ends and there's been no announcement for a second season, but the fact they've already announced something and the series is just finishing is very hopeful. So I'm excited because that means that, a lot of people were commenting on Twitter that very rarely do BL series get a second season. We're still waiting on Given. So I'm like, okay, great. Well, that means that maybe since they've already greenlit it, that gives me hope that it's been really popular and they're like, yeah, let's do this. So that is exciting. I like that. I like the fact that we have something announced. So for now, once episode 12 ends, sadly, we'll put a pause on Sasaki and Miyano. I don't think I'll do a live stream yet because the series isn't over. Clearly, they've greenlit things. But we'll put a pause on it and then move on to another series. And then once they announce what this anime project is, whether it's a Hirano spinoff or a second season, then we'll go from there. I do eventually want to read the manga and see it all, but I've got other projects I'm working on, so I'm like, this will be fine. We'll just put a little pause, we'll press pause on it, and then see where the next anime project takes us. So that's exciting. But that all came out today, and then I was like, I want to watch episode 9. So I'm like, But I'm so excited. Episode 8 was so good. So good. And we've got a lot of things set up. So we still have this cultural festival, and the question is Miyano going to do the drag show, or is he not? That's the question. Is Sasaki going to be like, yeah, you can do it. It's fine. I'm okay with it. Or is Miyano going to be like, nah, I don't want to do it. Let Kurosawa do it. So, or maybe Kurosawa will do it anyway because he wants to send pictures to his girlfriend in the hospital. We'll see. But I'm really excited, y'all. I can't wait. So let's not waste any more time. This series is so precious. I love it. And I'm ready to dive into episode 9. So we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, y'all. This episode went by so quickly. That was the fastest 23 minutes I think I've watched in a long time. I was like, just beat for beat. Oh my gosh, this episode was great. Just great. Yeah, what I love about this series as a whole, what I love about it is that it does not give us any pointless, stupid melodrama that drags things out and makes things difficult. No, it is legitimate concerns with our characters about these relationships that make total sense. We get it as the audience. It's like, no, that makes sense. Gotcha. And it makes sense why they're like this, but they move forward and communicate. And it's still adorable and still funny, because that's the thing. A lot of series, well, I use Nozaki-kun a lot as an example because that was the first series I watched on this channel years ago, almost 2 years ago to this spring. And I like Nozaki-kun a lot, but the whole thing with it is that the miscommunication, in that series, the miscommunication is the humor. That's the funny part about it. That's meant to be the humor of it. And it is funny. I do like Nozaki-kun a lot, but it's frustrating from a romance perspective because they never really, and I don't know the manga, I've not read any further than just the first season, so you never get that point where they actually communicate their feelings. It's just like, oh no, a miscommunication. And in this, no, Miyano actually talks to Sasaki and they work it out. And yeah, it's not, Miyano has not confessed yet. He's not fully given his feelings about everything. Maybe that'll happen in the next episode. Who knows? Or they're saving it for the season finale. Who knows? But the point is that they do communicate their feelings. That does happen. And they talk about things. And they're trying to rationalize and understand each other. And a lot of romance series that I've read and watched, there's not that going on. And it can be frustrating as a reader because it's like the will they, won't they. This is like a very realistic will they, won't they. Because we, the audience, we're like, yeah, I think they will. It's just a matter of time. There's not a won't they, but it's just a when they, right? And God, this episode is so refreshing because of just letting us see things play out as they probably would in real life. And it just be really cute and adorable and fun and funny. And I'm like, yes, thank you. I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, going back to this whole thing though. Yeah, Miyano wanting to wrap his arms around Sasaki. It's like, yes, that's what he wanted to do. And that's the moment he realized, okay, yes, I do have feelings for this person because I want to embrace them. I want to hold them. Going by what Hanzawa told him in the last episode, yeah, I'm checking off the boxes of things that I like about Sasaki. I think I like him in that way. Good. I'm glad that Miyano's realizing this, but I'm also glad that Miyano, here's the thing too, Miyano doesn't rush into these things. Miyano doesn't rush into these things. He wants to figure it out and think it through. And Sasaki, there's a part of Sasaki that he's just dying to do something. He is just dying to do something with Miyano. He wants to show his affection. He wants to show his feelings, but he is being respectful of Miyano's space and his consent and how he is. To the point where Hirano's like, you still don't have a confession from him? Like, Hirano's like, he might as well just reject you at this point. I'm like, Hirano, don't say that. Stop. But that's what I love about Sasaki. Sasaki is such a breath of fresh air because there's been BL series that I've read that if we don't know if Sasaki is a seme or an uke. At this point, it's like, does it even matter, right? But there's partners in BL series that I've watched and read where they push themselves onto the other and just, it almost, not that it seems like it forces the other to reciprocate, but it definitely influences them to where they feel like, oh, maybe, I should at least try. Sasaki is respectful enough to not do that. And I am all here for it. I also love how this title of this episode is Because I Want to Take Care of You, of course. And I love what this series does with titles. It makes you think one thing, and then by the end of the episode, you realize what it's actually about, and it's like, oh, okay, that's what, the whole thing with the cold kind of ties into everything. We'll talk about that, but I love the ambiance of the green room. The green room where and it's like jealousy is often referred to being like shades of green, so there's that going on too. I also like Miyano's boots in the outfit. I didn't notice that in the last episode, but yeah, Miyano wanted to hold him. And I love that Sasaki, he's about to hold him and he's like, you're not playing fair, Mia-chan. Because yeah, that's the thing. Miyano's like, you're not being fair. Like, if you wrap your arms around me, but you haven't given me a confession, like, it's like Sasaki saying, don't lead me on. If you love me, if you like me, tell me, but you're not playing fair if you do this and you don't give me an answer. And that makes Miyano kind of drop his hands like, okay, wait, I do need to think a little bit more about this. And oh my gosh, I like that we get to see Miyano's haircut. It's great. I thought that here is the thing. I thought Sasaki was going to try to kiss him in that moment right there. He could have. He was making a move. And then Kurosawa showed up. He was making a move to do it. But here's the thing. Not only does Kurosawa show up and kind of break off the moment, but Sasaki does stop himself, right? Sasaki's like, it is taking all I have to not act on this and not kiss you and not do something affectionate, but I'm gonna hold back. I can be patient. I can hold it in. I'm just letting this all play out. Ah! God, this man, Sasaki. We all need a Sasaki. Wushin on Discord was like, we need a Sasaki in our lives. I'm like, yes, we do. and he gets one thing in, and Miyano's like, God, that was scary. Because yeah, Miyano's like, I could have nearly been kissed, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But Sasaki he's like, he apologizes and gives him back all the things, and just the cheek cup, where he's like, just let me have this one moment, this one affectionate thing. And he's like, I can't resist. I've got to do this one thing. Where he's like, I've just got to do this one public display of affection. And that's when he says, like, I was half kidding, so don't worry about it, okay? And he's like, you were kidding? And he's just like, I care about you. And he's like, I want you all to myself, but I know that's not fair. So, and this show, the little tiniest gestures where he's been holding back and just doing like the bare little touch. And then he like, you can feel the weight of it. You can feel the weight of his hand, like cup his face. You Japanese men and your PDA. And Miyano's like, what do I do with that? Sasaki senpai. And then Kurosawa is like, I'm an alternate. I'm just messing around. Yeah. So, and of course, Miyano short circuits from all of this. Like, whatever's going on. He's like, what's happening? And he's like, what the heck was that? And, So here's the thing. I love the communication that happens about this entire drag show scene and how it plays out. Because, yeah, in another BL series, it could be this jealousy guilt trip where I was curious to know if Miyano would actually say no. If he would say, I'm not going to do it. But he stands up for himself, damn it. That's so good. I'm so proud of Miyano that he stands up for himself and explains and freaking communicates thank you to Sasaki to let him know what's up. And he does go through like a period with Kurosawa and Tashiro where he's just like, I don't know what to do. Like, what the heck was that? And Miyano is accepting his feelings that he's like, no, I actually am comfortable with that affection. And the fact that Miyano's never been kissed, he's like, I've never been kissed before. I don't know what to do. And the fact that he doesn't want to make it a bad experience for Sasaki, because that's so relatable. That's so relatable. If you've never kissed someone before, you're like, he's like, I really wanted to embrace him and stuff, but he's like, I don't want to make it bad he thinks Sasaki's so experienced, right? And that I feel like I'm going to explode. It's like, he's like, is this what being in love with someone feels like? And it's like, yeah, kind of. And so I like that he's like, if this is the same kind of love that Senpai has for me, we'd start dating and then we'd kiss. And he's like, hold up, slow down. Getting ahead of myself. He's like, I'm not even giving him an answer yet. Like he's getting far ahead of himself. We're not even dating. But this is kind of the confirmation that he wants to be. He wants to date Sasaki. He's realizing that he wants to date him. He's thinking about kissing him. But he's like, God, I can't get ahead of myself. I've got to give him an answer before I even think about that. But yeah, I love that when he imagines the kissing scene, it almost becomes a different animation. It's almost like watercolor. It looks like a different way of animating it. And Tashiro and Kurosawa are like, you okay, man? You short-circuiting over there? He's like thinking about kissing him. And Tashiro's like, he's acting weird, right? Kurosawa's like, yeah, don't worry. I'm going to get the tea by getting him to come with me to go do stuff. I like that Kurosawa has a plan. He's like, and the moment he brings up BL, he's like, you want to go with me to the bookstore? And I was like, yes. Like, it just snaps him out of it. Oh, sure. Snaps him out of his funk. But he's like, maybe it was for the best that I couldn't say I loved him right then. Yeah, I do agree that it was for the best that he didn't confess there in the green room. One, because Kurosawa interrupted like 2 seconds later. But also because it was like the heat of the moment. And Miyano, I like that Miyano realized in that moment that he does love him. And he does feel that way. But he's chosen to like break down and, analyze this feeling before he gives Sasaki a confession, because he does owe him that. Like, he feels like he owes him that as a person. And I appreciate that. I did want to hold him, but I've never kissed anyone. So if it wasn't like I expected, it might wind up hurting him. And I love that that's how Miyano thinks. He's like, if it wasn't like I expected, it's not that Miyano would be disappointed. It's that he doesn't want Sasaki to be disappointed. In that Sasaki thinks that he's a bad kisser. And it's like, oh, I feel like Miyano thinks that Sasaki is experienced. I don't know if Sasaki is. I think Sasaki might be in the exact same boat that Miyano is. I don't know if Sasaki's ever kissed anybody. We've never, that's the thing about this series. There's been lots of people flirt with Miyano and like offer gestures and like half serious flirtations towards Miyano, but we have not seen any of that with Sasaki in this series. And maybe that's because Miyano is our focal point. We don't get to see it, but I've almost been half expecting that at some point Miyano would be on the receiving end of the jealousy vibe. That somebody would come up and flirt with Sasaki and Miyano would have to be like, well, how do I feel about that? And we haven't gotten that yet. And maybe if they do start dating, we'll see that. And then we'll see how Miyano has to deal with it. The series reminds me a lot of Embracing Love in a sense. A much more tame version of Embracing Love. A much, much more G version of Embracing Love. Embracing Love is like NA 17. And this is the much like G-rated version. And I say that because in Embracing Love, that BL series, the couple do communicate a lot. Like the whole series is them communicating their relationship and talking things through. And there's a part where they each deal with jealousy and they communicate how they feel towards one another. So I feel like Sasaki and Miyano kind of takes a page from Embracing Love where they talk about communicating with one another, but it is by far the most tame marshmallow fluff version, as it's as far removed sexually from Embracing Love as possible. Not in a bad way though. Like, I love this series and how wholesome it is. But Embracing Love, I love it too, but it is a lot spicier. I can't rush into things with this. Yes, it's like, thank you. Don't be hasty. Like, and at this point, they've known each other for like a year and a half. So at this point, you've taken your time. Why rush things now? And that's when Tasha was like, are you okay? And he's like, oh yeah. God, I love this. I need to figure out if my love and his love are the same thing. Yes, like communicate, figure out if you both are on the same page. That's been the struggle this entire series, is Sasaki and Miyano figuring out, do you guys love each other? Do you feel about each other in the same way, right? So that one's not leading the other on. Okay. And we, the audience, suspect that it is the same way, but we just haven't gotten there yet. So, oh my God, this trip to the bookstore is amazing. Cram it all in by nightfall. Yes. That title of a BL series, Cram It All In by Nightfall, the innuendo with that, I can't. And it's a picture of this character with devil horns and this guy with the scar on his face, and it says cross-dressing, devil, priest, switching, age gap, and more. I'm like, what? The devil priest makes sense. The switching makes sense. The age gap makes sense, but the cross-dressing and more, what else can you put in it? Oh my God, amazing. I love how this series pokes fun at BL so much. And Miyano's like, face. It's so good. But what I like and this are two totally different things. Yes, Miyano and Sasaki's love is like the most vanilla, pure thing on the face of this planet. And the thing about it is, that's okay. That's kind of the drawl of this series. And why I think this series, if you are just getting into BL, this series is perfect because it's so genuine and natural and realistic. Like most couples, I'm going to say most with quotation marks because I can't speak for any other couples, but most couples are pretty much like this. It's pretty vanilla and it's okay, and that's fine. I think a lot of series rely on this X factor or this like extreme spice to make it digestible for an audience or to make it enticing for an audience. And what I love about this series is no, it comes at it in a very realistic, wholesome, genuine manner that makes it adorable and also very true to life, right? I love that. And okay, so we need to talk about this scene though, because there's all these, and I love that Miyano's like, there's way too many elements. It doesn't even fit on the cover. Though it looks kind of fun. That's the thing. It's like, even if you're in a relationship with someone and it is the most vanilla thing, there is a part of you that's like, that crazy stuff does sound tempting. Whether or not you can go with it or not, right? And so I like that Miyano says, I want to listen to what he's telling me, but I feel like it's wrong for me to just quit now. And Miyano he's like, I feel guilty. He's like, why do I feel guilty? I want to do this, but I think the guilt is coming from the fact that Miyano doesn't know. He's like, I owe Sasaki an explanation. I owe some communication to him. We need to just lay it out there on the line, talk about this, and figure out what the deal is. And I think he's coming to terms with that, right? He's like, I keep making him wait, and I'm being indecisive. I have to give him an answer. So I'm like, I don't want Miyano to rush through this, but I do like that Miyano is seeing that, yeah, I've made him wait. I've made him wait a while. And so I do need to eventually talk to him about this and give him a confession and just tell him how I feel and see if he's on the same page, right? And I love Kurosawa in this. So this is the interesting thing. Kurosawa, Miyano says, if your girlfriend asked you to quit and you were in the middle of doing something, what would you do? And he's like, quit looking for a BL? I don't think she'd like that. He's so innocent. And he's like, no, not right now. He's like, and I like that Miyano is not subtle. It's like AG from Banana Fish, where he's trying not to be conspicuous, but he's totally conspicuous. Where he's like maybe a club activity. I got a friend of a friend. And it's like, he's really talking about himself. And of course, the first thing that Kurosawa says is, I'd quit. Because, yeah, he's so into his girlfriend. He's like, oh, I'd quit. He's like, I'd quite like to know why she asked that of me. And Miyano's like, you almost immediately said you'd quit. And so I wanted to see what the title of this manga was. The title of this BL is, No One Ever Said I'd Have to Be My Childhood Friend Turned Idol's Manager. Again, this series has so much fun poking fun at like the random BL titles and the most random scenarios. It's kind of amazing. I absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. And Miyano's like, I thought you'd be able to quit on the spot. And then I like Kurosawa's answer to this. I could if I thought it would be best for her. And Miyano's like, He says, but if she said it on a whim and I really did quit, then she'd feel terrible. So yeah, I think this encourages Miyano to stand up for himself, because Kurosawa is saying, well, yeah, if I felt like she really would feel bad about this and it would hurt her, yeah, I'd quit. But if she was just saying it in the moment, I'd feel like if I did quit, then she'd feel guilty later. And I think that's what encourages Miyano to be honest with Sasaki and have that communication, because Miyano doesn't want to just quit and then Sasaki feel guilty about it later. Like, oh, did I talk him into doing it? And because then Miyano's like, I know how that guilt would feel to me. I don't want Sasaki to feel the same way. So I think that conversation really encourages him to communicate to Sasaki. I love it. But here's the thing, okay? Miyano has questioned whether or not he likes guys. And I know that Miyano is like an expert on BL series, so maybe that's where this is coming from. But I just find it funny that Kurosawa's like, oh, I meant to ask, are there hot guys in this one? Like, Kurosawa, I think that cements the deal that Kurosawa is a straight character, because he's like, I can't tell if these characters are hot or not. And Miyano's like, yeah, they're hot. The fact that he doesn't know, I'm like, okay, Kurosawa's probably straight. If that's, what a deal. All these hot guys in 2 books. My girlfriend would be so happy. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. And then we cut from that. Tim thinking about everything and thinking it over. And he's like, I know that Sasaki values what's important to me, because he's expressed that. He's shown that he cares about what I care about. So I want to do him justice. And I feel like the only way, he's like, I probably wouldn't have said anything I could to deflect it. But not because I look up to him, but so it wouldn't be awkward being around him. Miyano's like, I just don't want it to be awkward, but at the same time, I need to be honest. And he's in love with him, so that's why they decide to communicate. And so Sasaki getting this cold. I'm glad that was resolved in this episode too with Mami Hirano, which I love Mami Hirano. I'm glad that was resolved this episode because honestly, I was afraid that Sasaki was going to get sick and then he wasn't going to be able to go to the culture festival and that was just going to delay things even more. But no, that's not what happens. We get it resolved in this episode, and so thank goodness. But yeah, Miyano comes and he's like, I need to speak with you about this. And I love that we don't see Sasaki's face, but the way his mouth is animated in that scene, he's like, sure, what's up? And inside, he's probably spontaneously combusting because he's like, what's Miyano going to talk to me about? What is this? What is this? And that's when Miyano says, about my cross-dressing. He's like, oh yeah. Thought we were going to touch base on the confession now, but okay, good. No, it's just the cross-dressing festival. I love this. He's like, I know you'd ask me if I consider not going, but I don't think I can do that. And Sasaki's like, oh. And Miyano's just trembling. He's just thinking. And then Sasaki's like, it's okay. He's like, it's fine. And Miyano's like, if I said I wanted to take part, that wouldn't be accurate. And he goes back to Sasaki telling about his looks. And he's like, before you said there are parts of me that you liked other than my face. And thank God, Hirano, MVP for reading the room. I was so afraid that Hirano was going to say Sasaki's name and it was going to shut down the conversation, but Hirano stops himself. Thank God the characters in this series are not oblivious, and it's not just for the sake of comedy that they let this emotional moment play out. And then he's like, crap, I almost interrupted him. He doesn't walk away. He stays there to eavesdrop, right? And Miyano says, and I used to not like my own features. And Hirano's like, oh. And I worried that if I dressed like a girl, I'd be even more concerned about my looks. So I hated the idea of cross-dressing before. But this is the difference, right? He's like, I'm not being untrue to myself. He's like, yeah, I've hated cross-dressing in the past because it's something that I dealt with by myself. And I felt like it was me against the world about it. But here, his classmates are helping him and doing the best to give him the consent and space to freely express himself and not feel bad about it. Like his friends have done a lot. Like Hanzawa has found like not revealing clothing, like done things to find an outfit that isn't super revealing that would fit Miyano's comfortableness and feel his, and like stay true to his comfort and not let him feel like he was exposed, right? And I love that. He's like, and Hanzawa's helped me out a ton with costume fittings. He's like, if I quit now, it's going to feel like I'm letting them all down. And people have stopped teasing me about my looks since I entered high school. Like growth for our boy Miyano. Like he's recognized, like, yeah, when we were in middle school, it bothered me and I got made fun of a lot. But since I've come to high school, it's not really happened. So people have kind of accepted me for who I am. It's like, thank you, because so many characters in other series that'd still be a big pressure point for them. But Miyano's like, I've grown as a character. It's fine now. I've matured. It's okay. I love that. And he's like, I committed to participating in this event, and so I want to see it through. Like, that's it. Like, he tells him how it is. And Sasaki's like, he's doing this because of me? Sasaki's like, oh. He's like, okay, then do your best. Like, the fact that, and I love Hirano's look like, yeah. Hirano's so proud of Sasaki in this moment too, and of his Kohei Miyano. I can't articulate. It's just such a great moment. But yeah, Sasaki's like, wow, he's communicating with me because he realizes how much this means to me. Like, oh my gosh. I love it. Thank you for not letting me know how you feel. And I'll be cheering you on. Like communication, thank God. Oh, all series, like romance series, get your notebooks out. Take notes. Take friggin' notes. This is how you do it. It's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. And their expressions, the look between each other, that wholesomeness. And then, of course, Sasaki in like true Hawk from Yona fashion is like, do you have to show a lot of skin for this pageant? And he's like, no, it's fine. I'm wearing the same outfit as before. There won't be skin showing. He's like, okay, good. That's why Hanzawa was there. My heart. And then this part, like, they don't just leave it. He's like, if you have free time during the festival, you want to come, like, walk around with me? Like, maybe get lunch together, you know? Like a date. We got free time, we can walk around together. And Hirano's like, it's a date. Mm-hmm. And it is. And Sasaki's like, let's do this. Ah! I'm so happy. And Hirano's just sitting there like, so how's it going? And he's like, oh, you heard that? And he's like, making plans for a date. Not that I eavesdropped. He's like, well, we're not going out, but yeah, it's a date. I'm like, you don't have to be going out yet to go on a date. That kind of is the lead up to going out. And then I love Sasaki being like, how long did he spend yesterday thinking about what I said? And he's just like, the fact that he thought about me. And so we have this. He's like, wait, didn't you confess to him before summer break? Like, it's been a while. And he's like, yeah, I'm waiting on his answer. And Hirano's like, still? He's like, oh, and Hirano's probably like, Miyano, why are you making him wait all this time? And I love this. Sasaki's like, no, it's fine. He's like, it's okay, I can wait. And Hirano's like, oh. He's like, if it means he's thinking about me, then I can wait however long it takes. And Hirano's like, God, you're a crazy idiot. However long. Oh, you're like husbando material here. Why didn't he make the husbando charts? What is this? Why didn't he make the husbando poll? Why didn't Sasaki make it? I love it. It's such a refreshing take on this partner that communication makes them both realize how much they care for one another, and it lets that patience happen, right? Oh, God. And there's just sparkles everywhere. And Sasaki's like, I don't want to go to career meetings. Which that's probably going to be a plot point come up, right? What he's going to do after high school. So then we get the culture festival. But before we get the culture festival, we have the stuff on the board, right? And it's talking about my girlfriend witch, my task. So there's English on the board. And then my roommate who took care of me is so kind. I want to point out, and this is the English teacher in me, that on the board there, that my roommate, who took care of me, there should be a comma after me. Just when I was looking as an English teacher, I'm like, you should put that comma after me before is so kind. I'm just pointing it out. I know you're doing the parentheses, but you should put that there too. But anyway, and of course, nose blowing, Sasaki is getting sick, and I like that everybody's like, dude, you're getting sick. Get out of here. Quit making us go, germs. I feel like in these 2022 times, everybody's like, if you don't feel good, get out. None of us want that. None of us want that. And I like that Hirano has to threaten him. He's like, if you don't leave, you may not get to go to the festival and go on a date with Miyano. So you might want to take care of this now and nip it in the bud before it turns into something full blown. And that gets Sasaki to go to the nurse. And I like that Sasaki does still rationalize his jealousy a little bit. He's like, I don't want to show Miyano off. He's like, I don't want Miyano showing off to all these. Like, I hope no weirdos show up. Like, he feels like he wants things to be good for Miyano because Miyano's put so much thought into this. He doesn't want anybody showing up and like making fun of him or anything like that. But he also is like, I don't like the idea of him being paraded around others, even if it is drag, even without the cross-dressing. So Miyano's still dealing with his jealousy, but I like that he does it in probably the healthiest way that I've seen a character do it. And he calls himself a tool, and I'm like, Sasaki, you're not a tool, you're not a loser. It's crazy because Sasaki has all this insecurity about himself, and he's a character that normally we, the audience, are like, you shouldn't have insecurities about yourself. You're hot and nice and respectful. Why are you insecure? But he is, and it's very true to life. Like, there's lots of people that you just feel insecure about yourself, even if there's no reason to feel insecure. It's like, ugh. And I love Miyano being like the nurse here. Like, don't worry, I'll take care of you. It's fine. And so then also Miyano burning his hand in home ec can relate. I usually relate most to Sasaki in this series, but I relate to Miyano. I'm not a cook. And so him burning himself on the pot and pan. I love the little image of him holding the carrot curl and him with the knife being like, ah! That would be me in home ec. Just saying. That's amazing. I love those images. The animation in this is adorable. The teacher insisted that I come here to have my hand checked out. And he's like, oh, okay, you're not hurt. Great. And Miyano just looks around everything for me, sits him down. He gets him like a futon, so he can't find a blanket. And I love that Sasaki's like, wow, he's really mature and, handling this all really well and taking care of me. And again, if we go back to the whole Sime versus Uke conversation, it's like you expect, because Sasaki is the older character, that he should be the more mature one to take care of Miyano. But that's not the case. Miyano's like, I'm a mature character. I'm very capable of taking care of myself. You need to lie down. And Sasaki says he's a loser, but it's like, no, it's okay if you're vulnerable. It's okay if you're not like super strong. He's like, you can that's kind of like being in a relationship with someone. It's a give and take. You can rely on your partner to take care of you. And it doesn't make you weaker. It's just your partner taking care of you and them caring about you. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to, one person doesn't have to be the caregiver for the other. It can be mutual, right? And I love that Sasaki kind of gets to experience that in this episode. And he's just like, oh, and looking at Miyano with like the dream glow and the thermometer. It's amazing. Like, oh, Sasaki, Miyano, you have no clue how much Sasaki loves you right now and how adorable he thinks you're being. He's like, it's not like we're doing anything wrong or playing. I'm just being responsible. And it's like, okay, good. And yeah, him feeling kind of cold and taking his temperature. It's like, aw. And he's like, look at him go. He's turning the house upside down looking for everything. It's like, because he cares about you. And so, yeah. And that Sasaki with the dramatic hand over, I will say, if I get a headache, I always have to do this. Like, if I get a headache, I have to do the arm overhead thing. I don't know why, but it helps. And so again, relating to Sasaki 100%. Everybody says they need a Sasaki. I might need a Miyano, to be honest. Definitely. Oh my gosh. And then this conversation is like, you got a fever, you should go home. And they talk about like taking each other home. And then Sasaki's like, why? Like, it's fine. I'll be okay. He's like, why are you going out of your way to help me with this? Right? And he's like, it's okay. I can take you home. It's just one train. And Sasaki's like, I feel like a loser because I can't take care of myself. I have to rely on someone else. And Miyano's like, it's okay. Like, let me help you. It's fine. And that's when Sasaki's like, why are you doing this? Like, why would you go that far for me? And he expected him to say it was because he loved him. But Miyano's like, what do you mean, why? He's like, I want to take care of you, of course. And Sasaki's expression, like, it's almost like that means even more than just saying I love you. Like, because I want to take care of you. It implies like something beyond just love. Like it's that caretaking, it's that feeling, that respect. It's a lot, it's more complicated, right? And I kind of love that that's how he answers. And then of course he's like, I mean, I was like, did I say something wrong? And that got him more feverish and blushy. Then he's like, it's not fair. And he's like, and he's all red, like all over. He's like, that was even worse than I expected. I just expected you to confess then and there, but no. I love this. And Miyano goes off to find somebody to drive him home. I was kind of hoping he'd said it was because he loved me, but then he threw this curveball, like something even more intimate. Yeah, it's even more intimate than just saying that the fact that it's more intimate than saying I love you, no wonder he just gets, and then he's like, is it because I'm his senpai? And it's like, no. So Sasaki, he says the things he says to me makes me just want to hold out hope. It's like, yes, hold out hope, because Sasaki hasn't quite connected the dots that Miyano loves him. He's wondering why he's doing all these things for me. And he's not quite, he's almost there. He's not quite put two and two together that Miyano's doing this because he loves him, but he's getting close. It's getting close. Our class is doing a cafe. And I'm sorry, but I instantly thought of Free. I thought of the Free OVA where Samezuka does the Maid Cafe. When he said we do a cafe, I was like, is this a maid cafe? But no, it's even better. It's the bad boy cafe. I love it. It makes sense in Free that they do the maid cafe because it's playing on the fan service that you expect in Free. In this, it's playing on the fact that his class is filled with guys that look kind of like delinquents. And I also love that when they plan out this date, right before it cuts to the festival, there's two little glowing orbs. One is orange and one is blue. And it's a representation of Sasaki and Miyano. But yeah, I wish that my high school had been big enough to have a cultural festival. My high school is tiny, so we didn't have anything like this. And plus, I don't think it's like a Western thing that usually happens. But I want a damn cultural festival. Why can't our high schools have this? And these cultural festivals have amazing things, like the cheesy chicken. I also love the escape room. I love the escape room t-shirts. I almost want a t-shirt that has that design. There's just something about it. I was in a theater club in college. We had a theater fraternity in college, and they had a blue shirt with yellow writing, and it was the exact same colors as their t-shirts, but it was something totally different. But I'm like, I want that t-shirt. And so then, yeah, Kurosawa inviting Toshiro to the other booths. He's like, I want Class A's cheesy chicken. And they're like, you traitor. And so Kurosawa gets Miyano to come with him to go check out the cafe before his lunch date with Sasaki, and they're 30 minutes early. And I got the same vibes from Sasaki showing up at the door of the Maid Cafe as I got from Rin showing up in the OVA for free. Same vibes, same atmosphere. I loved it. I was like, nope, that's great. It's absolutely wonderful. But the bad boy cafe, the bad boy fortune-telling cafe. I also like that, just like in the OVA for free, Sosuke doesn't have to do the bad boy thing. He does like the cooking the rice. And in this case, Hanzawa doesn't do the bad boy thing. He does the fortune telling. Because for a second I was like, Hanzawa does not seem like a bad boy. He's a chaotic gremlin and a troll, but he is not a bad boy. And so I love that he's the fortune teller. And that's the twist, right? I'm like, is Hanzawa going to do some fortune telling in the next episode for Miyano and Sasaki? Is he going to do some fortune telling? Because that would be pretty cool if he did. But, so we get old Sasaki with the earrings, like the chain, the thing on there, his hair pushed back. Very much Rin vibes. And he's just like, oh my God. I think the last thing he wanted to see was Miyano and Kurosawa show up. He's like, oh shit, you've seen me. I've gotta be the bad boy. And no, because that's not what Sasaki really is. Sasaki is not a bad boy. It's just an act. And Kurosawa's like, yep. So, because Kurosawa, we've been theorizing in the comments throughout this that Kurosawa has been sending pictures to his girlfriend and is talking about these two that are going to get together, like doing their romance. It's amazing. I love it. And he's like, come on in. And so, yeah, they all have the short jackets and the aprons, and there's like bad boy writing on the walls, like wolves. And he's like, this is quite a concept. And there's like tape and skulls everywhere. It's the weirdest thing. And they all have like black coffee. And the menus have like paint graffiti splatters. I kind of love it. Our class of guys who's got a bad reputation, so we're capitalizing on it. None of them are actually delinquents, but they're just monopolizing it. And the fortune-telling part, and they're like, oh, that's over there. That's Hanzawa's. You'll reveal your fortune. Again, I want Sasaki and Miyano to get their fortune read. And then Kurosawa's like, I'm getting my fortune told right now. So he leaves Sasaki and Miyano together, of course. He's like, you're here awfully early, Mia-chan. I've still got another 30 minutes on my shift. And he's like, sorry, I just wanted to come see the cafe. I was curious. And Sasaki's like, I'm so embarrassed. Because I've got to put on the act. I've got to be a jerk to people. And he's like, I don't want you to see me like this. Right? He's wanted to present himself in the best light to Miyano because he wants Miyano to like him. And he's just like, I don't want you to see me like this. But I'm like, Miyano's not going to care. He's like, I'm embarrassed. And Miyano's like, I think you look cool. And he's like, oh, you do? And of course, that's when Hirano shows up. Looking like Hirano with the hair pushed back. He looks like such a delinquent. I love it. It's like Hirano looks the part. I almost want his roommate to show up and be like, oh my gosh. And that's the episode. This was so good. From episode 8 and 9, they've been my favorites so far. They're so good. I love this. I love this series so much. And again, it's just the fact of them having these genuine conversations and communicating, being very realistic, like a real couple work. And I love that the humor in this series, the humor is situational, but it's not situational around, it is kind of situational around their relationship, right? Because there's aspects of the fact that they haven't confessed yet, that the others around them, by this point, everybody that they are close friends with know that they're practically a couple, except for Miyano and Sasaki. Everybody else is just like, do the damn thing. But I like that. So there is some situational humor with that, but the humor in this series is more based around making fun of the BL tropes that this series kind of subverts or avoids. And I like that about this series. It makes it fresh. It makes it fun. It makes it to where there's not this damn melancholy and drama, right? That you see in a lot of other series that is just for the sake of drama. Like, I get if a show has melancholy. I get if a series has drama and sadness and it's integral to the plot and the development of the characters. But if it's just to have drama and for there to be a cliffhanger and for us, the audience, to be like, stressed out, then I don't like that. So it gets old real quick. And so this series has done a really good job of avoiding that. Or if there is drama, it's resolved in a realistic, quick fashion. Like, thank you, Sasaki and Miyano. I appreciate that. So, oh my gosh, I'm going to be out of town again another week. I just went out of town last month, and this month, in April, I have to be out of town for a week. So I may go ahead and watch episode 10. I may go ahead and watch episode 10 before I go, just to have it out of the way. And then that way, when I get back, I will have seen it and I can watch episode 11. But I may go ahead and watch episode 10. I don't think I can wait. I want to see this cultural festival. I want to see this date. I don't think I can wait. But so sorry if you all have to wait. But I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below. This episode was great, but I hope you all enjoyed my reaction to discussion. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 10 of Sasaki and Miyano. Bye.